While they were having fun, something strange happened to them. Suddenly, they were forced to stop those who worked by knocking on the door. When they went to the living room and opened the door, a girl dressed in black stood at the door. But Jeef did not know it. When she saw Zila standing, she said that she would close the door. At that moment, she went around, but in this moment, she felt something strange. How could a little girl suddenly come in a dark alley where there was no man? She turned away from the girl as she tried to spy at the elephant. The girl behind the door was so bright. But when she turned around again, the girl cried. They thought she was gone of her own accord, so she decided to sit on the couch and watch TV. But she forgot about the choice of breathing in the car when Jeef suddenly checked the bag next to her. Ito had no choice but to take it, but what he didn't expect was that Daisy was going to be left alone in the house. Jeef had to walk around because their car was being parked in the city. Daisy had to make a phone call with the friend. Jeefen's rights to jump. He called me, but she was ready to receive G. As she approached the door, the knock was very powerful. Of course, Jeef was not the type. She raised her voice because she felt that something was wrong, but no one answered from outside. When she didn't respond, the girl quickly looked to make sure she was leaving. When she saw something on the ground, she quickly shut her mouth and there was a shadow behind it that she had never noticed. When she came back, she wanted to see that there was a place where the phone in the fog had fallen, but she found the phone lying on the wound. She didn't think much about it. She used the phone. She suddenly grinned. Immediately, we realized there was something wrong with her. She rushed to the window to see who could dance in such a frenzy, but she didn't see anything. After carefully looking around, the voice stopped suddenly. She looked at what she was doing. She gathered her courage and squeezed out. But it wasn't uncommon. Perhaps because she was so worried, she started playing the piano to calm herself. But all of a sudden, she heard a footstep that she didn't see anything. She jumped into the bathroom and didn't even have an option to wash it. But the danger had already blinded her. He looked at the man who had been staring at her, but these eyes were covered with a soap bubble. I turned around when she heard that there was someone, but she didn't see anything, so she didn't take it seriously. But while she was making me do her hair, all the lights in the house suddenly dimmed. We were forced to use a weak light on her phone to look for the main light distributor. But what no one could think of, the distributor was hidden in the closet. When she put her clothes on the floor, she shifted them to the floor. When she was told me she was in good health, when she leaned down to the upper floor, she jumped to the curtain, but she didn't make a sound. There was a drought in DC. It was Jeff who returned as luckily as he could until the key started turning. He quickly picked up the Xena and turned on the divider in the closet. But she was telling him that there was a stranger in the house. She explained the situation as if it was a real thing. He thought she was telling him through the window, but he was looking at her. I pushed through the window, and as if it were something was a stranger, and as if he was calming Desi, the knock started again. At this point, I was really happy. She had gone out to see him in love. Now she was a little girl, but she was very angry. They turned around and hugged him. They finally found some peace. They went in for dinner, but suddenly they fell into a little brawl. They saw a chicken hanging from the roof. Eze was completely terrified, and they finally rushed to close the doors and windows. But it was Raffle. He quickly retreated, but the man who had made the mask was staring into the shack. Jeffesy turned around and went out of his bedroom and hid the keys in the door and sat in the window. But they did not only to the man who had done it, but to others. Two masked men appeared to be women. Although Jeffesy listened outside, no sound was heard. Jeffesy wanted to confirm the matter, but immediately the two of them panicked. They were prepared for death as they saw the wooden door breaking, but the masked man only screamed through a hole in the door and looked at them. They didn't even know what he was looking for. When he saw their fear and was happy, he turned around, which meant that they didn't have to sit quietly, but they needed tactics to ask for help, and they risked their choice. But when they found the phone, the screen was shattered and they decided to escape when they lost Amhara. But the motorcycle was set up by someone who had already worn a mask. When they realized how rude the person was, they had to go back to the villa. They hid in the bathroom to plan. Luckily, Daisy saw a shelter through the window. Even if they could escape from the area, at least they could find the black hole. When they were looking for a way out, Daisy found a hole in the hole. It was so narrow that it was hard to move her underneath. When she stabbed and grabbed it, she grabbed the man. Jeff quickly blew her mouth off. It wasn't the next option because it was a woman standing above her. Jeff quickly pulled the bracelet off to relieve her pain. He ripped a piece of cloth from the shirt and wounded her. They escaped from a lot of fighting with a knife, but when they crossed the rock, Jeff stumbled and fell. That was something she could understand, but they didn't know. Then they were waiting for them when the walls came together. Then they tried to separate the house, but there was only one shell she could find. It wasn't enough for a fall. It was just a fall in the house to prevent her from falling apart and others. Jephthah went up to look for weapons, but the man behind her to put a mask on could not shake 100. There was a sound of a gunshot to exhale. Jeff had found a stabbing steering wheel. Dezim saved her in time. They were finally able to fight back because a weapon fell in their hands. They were planning to kill the guests one by one, but they did not know that they were also following them, so they moved around in the white circle. Jeff and Daisy came to the door and split their minds at the sound of their knocking. They ran to the well, and when he turned around to see if Jeff thought he had killed one, he thought he had killed one, but when he saw no one of them, he thought that the car had gone wrong and that they had fallen to the ground. Jeff was so sad, but he had no time to mourn. As luck, they were going to find the wreck of the car. He had a phone call from the local car. He called the man, and when he turned around, the woman who had the mask stopped there. Jeff turned around in his car, but the man who had the mask was driving another car and beat them over and over again until they collided with a tree. Jeff's foot was left in his car. Jeff knew he couldn't get away. As he prepared to fight back, he told DC to run into the woods. While Jeff was looking for a skull, the man who had shot at the masked gun was following him. And the man who had shot him in the back of the mask, he had a chance to throw it at her, and he was afraid to throw it at her.
Aniel, recaps.
The woman who hid in a hole and covered herself with a leaf as she came after the sound and swallowed the wing so that she could not move, as luck would have it, she finally got out of the hole and picked up her phone to call, but the forest network was weak. But wherever she put the phone, the sound was cut off, and she went running around the hole, but when she saw that someone was following her, she did not see the woman who was bouncing off her back from the drink. She said that she was very anxious, Jelly looking for Jade, but then she was too shocked. He shook it off. If he didn't tell her where it was, the woman who bought it didn't do anything. The woman who did it was stunned. The man who put it on Jeff's forehead without taking any action hit him 100 on the back. When Jeff touched him, they were both locked up, and sadly, this time there was nothing missing from the Jeep. He cried out and asked why they were doing this, but instead, they didn't respond. Then they threw her on the ground and told her a few words to the woman who had told her that she would not do it when her lover was sick. When I heard Daisy's reply, it turned out that they had no purpose whatsoever. They were just badass. And when Daisy hit her body, the people who put his life on the mask slowly calmed until the voice of police siren was heard from outside, then quietly left. But in the end, Daisy was able to survive after treatment. As usual, if you liked the story, break it, and we would meet every day at the spell.
I saw the spark in the edge of your eye. Cold little grin when the truth walks by. Hands in the air, don't reach too fast. One wrong move and it won't last. Say low, say clean. Something moves in between. Every step gets loud. Every shadow has a sound.
See you in the next recap. Subscribe for more movie stories.